Our days are permeated by craft and intelligence. We find craft and intelligence everywhere now, maybe even in this vacuum cleaner, but this video will naturally reveal that. The subject of our video today is a stick vacuum cleaner, and the manufacturer of the stick vacuum cleaner is a company called Smart AI. Smart AI meaning intelligent artificial intelligence. I don't know what dumb artificial intelligence would be like. I definitely wouldn't try that. But smart artificial intelligence might just work out. In the past, if someone wanted to sell something, they made a giant billboard and put a dog on it. If someone really wanted to sell something, they put a child on it. If they really wanted to sell something, they put a dog and a child on it. These days, those things are not that trendy. If someone wants to sell something today, they sell it with artificial intelligence. And perhaps because of this, it's understandable why a company that manufactures household appliances chose such a name for itself, namely Smart AI. By the way, this vacuum cleaner is the P40 model, and I will tell you everything about it. Naturally, the specifications and also what it's like with the Toshiba. But before we dive into this, let's start with the accessories. The most interesting accessory is, of course, the motorized suction head, which is quite large, and it has 5 pieces of blue LED in the front, which shines a grazing light on the floor in front of the vacuum head, so we can see where there is still dust, where cleaning is needed. So far, I've come across white LEDs, I've come across green LEDs, but I haven't encountered blue LEDs before, and actually, there is nothing good or bad I can say about it. It works just as well as the green one, and perhaps somewhat better than the white color. Incidentally, the blue LED is likely more attributed to the fact that there are all sorts of purple surfaces, a purple tube and other things with the vacuum cleaner. And blue probably matched better with these, not with the green. So let's agree, the LED is blue, it works, totally fine. What is interesting in this head still is the roller brush, which, as you can see, it is equipped with 2 types of bristles. There is a softer blue and a harder red. The interesting thing about this bristle is that the manufacturer claims that no hair or threads can get tangled with it. And we can believe that since there is a separator here. The plastic brush part in the head serves to rotate the brush inside, separating the hair strands so they don't wind around the cylindrical brush. Additionally, the head connects with the usual flexible hose joint solution to the extension tube. You can plug it in everywhere, under small cabinets, and everywhere is really good. Speaking of the extension tube, I must show it too, which has 2 interesting features. One is that, unlike most similar vacuum cleaners, this is not a telescopic tube, but is assembled from 2 fixed pieces. In other words, it is not adjustable in length. I note that I don't think it's such a problem. I've never adjusted the tube length on any vacuum cleaner while using it. I always use it at maximum, of course. I'm not 140 centimeters tall. Maybe if you are, then for you, this tube will be too long. The other interesting thing, and in my opinion much more important, is that this tube is made of metal, not plastic that looks like metal, and this somewhat foreshadows the kind of quality we are getting, because the machine tries to offer quite good quality in every regard. Not only is the metal tube of good quality, but also the plastics at the end of the tube, and this is true for the head and all the other accessories as well. The clips that snap the parts together are very good, firm but not too hard. Everything works perfectly on it. This therefore is the suction pipe, and besides this, we find 4 more parts, 4 accessories. We have a completely simple part suction. The quality of the plastic is also good here. The clip is good here too, so it can be considered a completely average or perhaps slightly better than average accessory. There is a usual bristle brush, where you can adjust the end to be either with bristles or without bristles. And with this, we can vacuum, bringing things like blinds, shelves and others. Additionally, we get an upholstery head, which the manufacturer sometimes refers to as a mite suction head, which I think has nothing to do with the mite suction head. It has a little red stripe that collects hair and furs. But for mite suction, I think this is not particularly good. More precisely, not any better than, say, the suction hose. So actually, this is not a turbo head. It is a completely simple upholstered furniture head. And lastly, we have a large wall holder, which also has several interesting features. It's a really useful thing for several reasons. One thing is that it has 3 small projections at the bottom where you can attach the accessories, and so you don't have to store them separately. And they won't get lost, there'll always be a hand. The other interesting thing is that on this head, there are 2 contacts here, and these 2 contact points are there so that when you hang the vacuum cleaner in its place, it charges. So you don't have to keep plugging the charging cable into the bottom of the vacuum cleaner to charge it. It's enough to hang the device on the wall, on the holder, and it will charge there. The charging cable needs to be plugged into this small opening. You hang up the vacuum cleaner, and you can always take it down from its place fully charged. Well, I've told you everything about the accessories. Now comes the machine. We're talking about a completely average machine. It has a relatively large 1.3 liter dust container. The motor is 400 watts, which is somewhat above average. The suction power is 33,000 pascals. This is also at the top of the mid-range or the bottom of the high-end suction power. According to the manufacturer, there is a 6-layer filter system between the inlet and outlet sides, so dusty air will certainly not escape from the back. My point of interest is the battery, and the fact that according to the manufacturer, we get 55 minutes of operating time on a single charge. Another interesting point is that this device has 2 displays, one on the top and one on the back. On the display on top, we can see which mode we're in and how much time is remaining. From the operation, we also see if, say, the dust container is full. On the rear display, we can turn the machine on and off. We are talking about a touch display, so if you touch it, you can change the mode. We have 3 modes. There is the Eco, which is 17,000 pascals, and there is the normal mode, which is 25,000 pascals, and there is the Turbo, which is 33,000 pascals. This is, of course, the maximum suction power that this machine can achieve. As long as you touch and hold this surface, the automatic mode will activate. And perhaps this is the most important and interesting feature of this machine. As in this price range, we don't usually receive. Now, we do not usually get it because the automatic mode requires a dust sensor, meaning the machine needs to detect how much dust it is sucking up from the floor at any given moment. And based on this, it has to adjust how strong the suction should be. So, with this machine, we have a dust sensor. And this is definitely a positive because you don't have to switch between speeds depending on how dirty it is. The most optimal longest we get the operating time with one charge. How was it to use the machine? Well, let's start with the bad thing. There is one bad thing in it that I really don't understand. The manufacturer says that there is a 6-layer filter system in this machine. Well, the thing is, in my opinion, there is no 6-layer filter system in this machine. If we detach the dust container, then here we can identify 4 layers. There is the container itself, which because of the cyclonic system, as it spins the air, separates the large debris from the air, because the spinning causes the dirt to precipitate on the wall of the container, and nothing gets through the filter. On top of the filter, we have a HEPA filter. This HEPA filter is yet another layer. And we can also remove this inner metal filter from it. And inside the metal filter, there is another tube system. Now, no matter how I calculate this thing, we have a cyclone. So we have a metal filter. Within the metal filter, there is this pipe system. With the pipe system, we put it in here. I put in the HEPA filter, and there are no more layers. The manufacturer says that somewhere in this machine, there is a foam filter. I don't know where it is and what the foam filter is supposed to be. And it also says that there is an exhaust exit side filter in this machine. So the air exits here. However, because this machine has a display here, you cannot detach the back. And since there's a display here, you cannot detach the top. Therefore, I'm quite sure that there is no filter at the back of this machine. And there's definitely no foam filter either. So, even the vacuum cleaner has a 4-layer filter system, not 6. Of course, it can still be good and work well, and I will soon say how well it can work. During the tests, I tried the usual things, so I used soup pearls for large debris, rice for medium, and flour for very fine dust. I like using flour because the flour is white and you can clearly see how long it takes to pass through the filtration system, where it reaches and where it doesn't. So it's great for the test. Naturally, there was no problem with the suction power, as the 33,000 Pascal is more than sufficient for everything. It also picked up the soup pearls very well. The issue with the soup pearls was that the larger grains couldn't fit under the head. So I had to lift the head a bit to collect the soup pearls. Naturally, there was no such problem with the rice, just like there was no problem with the flour. It picked these up perfectly without any residue. However, the operation of the 4-layer filter system was not entirely perfect, or at least let's say that I have seen better, because the HEPA filter eventually caught all the dirt, so to the motor. Here, no dirt got to the other side, but below the HEPA filter, in this area, and at the bottom of the HEPA filter, I still found plenty of flour. This means that the cyclonic separation is not perfect. As I said, I've seen better solution as well. Despite not being perfect, because this favored stainless steel filter insert is used, it didn't work perfectly. Of course, this would only be bad if the dirt passed through this HEPA filter, because then it would get into the motor, and it would also reach the outlet side, and the dirt would come out here at the back, filling the motor with dust. But the HEPA filter works well. You can get such a thing. Of course, you can wash it too, so you don't have to replace it for a while. But if you take my advice, you'll look for a spare. Definitely have 1 or 2 at home in case something happens. So that's the bad in this vacuum cleaner. And now only good things follow. As I said, there's no problem with the cleaning quality. The dust sensor works very well in it. And I know this because during vacuuming in the apartment, the suction power noticeably changed. So when I put the vacuum on the carpet and started moving it back and forth, the first time it sucked much stronger. And as on that same area, as I was pulling it, the RPM gradually decreased, and the feedback of the RPM also changed with the colors. So it was perceptible that there was increasingly less dust to be vacuumed in the given area, and the dust sensor detected this very well. I think this is great because, as I said, in machines of this category, we don't usually have a dust sensor. Regarding G operating time, we might have some minor complaints since the manufacturer claims it can do 55 minutes. Work on one charge. I don't think it can operate that long on one charge. If you use the eco mode, which only means low speed, even then, instead of 55 minutes, I would say around 35 to 40 minutes. At medium speed, about 20, maximum, but then really maximum, I would predict about 25 minutes. And well, around 8 minutes at the maximum, so there's no way it's 55 minutes. However, Tavasi, as I mentioned, it has a dust sensor, so we can optimize the operation. It won't reach 55 minutes there either. But I think one charge should be enough to quickly vacuum an apartment, between 60 and 80 square meters. Now, let's sum up. Here is this machine, the price of which is relatively favorable, currently measured around 50,000 forints, is the lower end of the high category and the upper end of the middle category in terms of suction power, and the components, plastics, assembly, and everything else represent the same category. The machine is not flawless, as instead of a 6-layer filtering system, it has a 4-layer one. But this 4-layer system does its job properly. There's no problem with that either. The noise is not a problem either. And while the battery life could be seen as a downside, for these machines, similar models usually have about the same runtime. So it didn't surprise or bother me. What is definitely a positive is that even though I do not find any trace of AI in this vacuum cleaner, the dust sensor they built into it works well. And it's definitely a positive that, as I said, in this category, we don't usually find dust sensors. In fact, this is the first machine in which I found a well-functioning dust sensor, and not 80, or it costs over 100,000 forints. If you liked it, if you want to buy a vacuum cleaner with a dust sensor that looks relatively good and has pretty good suction, you will find the link in the usual place under the video on YouTube where you can purchase it. And I will also provide a coupon code to make it cheaper. Click on it, check it out. This was the test. Subscribe to the channel, and I will be back soon with another review. Meanwhile, be good and bye.